Hello everyone, we are now in our lesson 14 with the title of Ethics, Privacy, Security. Today we will going to define ethics, different types of ethics and as well as its set of principles. Define and describe privacy and security which are essential in handling health information system. Ethics, the discipline concerned with what is morally good and bad and morally right and wrong. To understand it better, moral is having the sense of righteous behavior and conforming to the standard of what is right or wrong to do. Basically, ethics is a guide for a person's behavior to abide on what our society accepts. Health informatics is guided by health information ethics. It involves the acquisition, processing, and study of data, and ethics will serve as a norm for medical professionals to make good decisions and actions wherein the data that is accessed by them is used for goodwill and make a positive impact for the people they are serving. Healthcare informatics covers issues on honorable actions and proper and improper behaviors in the field of healthcare. With that in mind, these are the set of ethical principles for appropriate use of decision support systems in informatics as described by Short Life and Simino 2013. Number 1. A program should undergo appropriate evaluation prior to use in clinical practice. It should perform efficiently at an acceptable financial and time frame cost. The first principle states that programs should be tested and evaluated first, whether it is viable for clinical practice, and the program must be efficient in both time and finance. Number 2, adequate training and instruction should be completed before proceeding to the implementation. The second principle states that complete skills, instructions, and experience is required before the implementation of the program. Number 3, a qualified health professional should be assigned to handle concerns regarding uses, licenses, and other concerns. The software systems applications should not replace functions such as decision making. The third principle states that a certified health professional capable of handling the system or program and the other things such as decision making must not be reliant on the system or program. General ethics. In public health, general ethics guide the reasoning and decision making of all people and organizations involved in healthcare. Two of the ethical principles a health professional must uphold are autonomy and beneficence and non-maleficence. In other words, general ethics is always considered when delivering health services and a factor to consider in making decisions. And these ethical principles must be upheld to properly deliver healthcare.
Number 1. Autonomy is defined as the idea of either allowing individuals to make their own decisions in response to a particular societal context or being free from external influence or control. So autonomy talks about the fact that individuals should be able to make their own decisions without being influenced by anyone. Number 2. Beneficence and non-maleficence. These two principles are respectively defined as do good and do no harm. In health informatics, beneficence relates most significantly with the usage of stored data in the EHR system, and non-maleficence with how stored data is protected. So number 2 talks about the fact that stored data should be used properly and should not be used with any malicious ideas. Informatics ethics. Informatics ethics is about the ethical behavior expected from individuals assigned to handle information. 7 principles according to International Medical Informatics Association, or 2016. Principle of openness. Control measures of particular data should be disclosed to the concerned individual. in an appropriate and prompt manner. So this talks about the fact that we should be able to disclose information to to the to the person in question, but we should be tactful and should not just say anything that is harmful to them, that could affect them negatively. Principle of information, privacy, and disposition. Everyone has the fundamental right to privacy, so we should so we should respect the person's privacy, and we should not just disclose information without their permission. Principle of security. Legitimately, the collected data should be protected throughout all appropriate measures against access, modification, or communication, manipulation, loss, degradation, and unauthorized destruction. So information should be protected properly and should not be given out to anyone without the proper permission to open them, or should not be destroyed.
Principle of access. The subject of an electronic record has the right of access to that record and the right to correct the record with respect to its accurateness, completeness, and relevance. Principle of legitimate infringement. By the word infringement, it means it is a violation or a breach or an authorized act. A harm to one's right is an infringement. A violation of statute is also an infringement. In a commercial contract, an infringement happens when one of the contracting parties breaches the terms stated in the contract. The fundamental right of control over the collection, storage, access, use, manipulation, communication, and disposition of personal data is conditioned only by the legitimate, appropriate, relevant data needs of a free, responsible, and democratic society, and by the equal and competing rights of other persons. Principle of the least intrusive alternative. Any infringement of the privacy rights of the individual person and the individual's right to control over the person relative data as mandated over the Principle 1 may only occur in the least intrusive fashion and with the minimum of interference with the rights of the affected person. And lastly, the principle of accountability. The accountability principle requires you to take responsibility for what you do with personal data and how you comply with other principles. You must have appropriate measures and records in place to be able to demonstrate your compliance. Any infringement of the privacy rights of the individual person and of the right to control over personal relative data must be justified to the affected person in good time and in an appropriate fashion. These general principles of informatic ethics, when applied to the types of relationships to which HIPs enter in their personal, professional lives, and to the types of situations that they encounter when thus engaged, give rise to more specific ethical duties. The rules of conduct for HIPs that follow outline the more important of these ethical duties. It should be noted that as with any ethical rules of conduct, the rules cannot do more than provide guidance, the precise way in which the rules apply in a given context, and the precise nature of a particular ethical right or obligation depends on the specific nature of the relevant situation. Software ethics is the ethical duties and responsibilities of software developers to the stakeholders, the society, institutions, and employees, and the profession. Software enables us to accomplish many different tasks with computers. Health informatics relies on the use of the software to store and process information. It follows that the activities carried out by the developers might affect the end users. It encompasses the respect for the right of acknowledgement, right to privacy, and right to determine the manner, form, and terms of publication and distribution. They should execute all system activities with the best interest of the society in mind. They should disclose any threats or known defects in the software. They should ensure that completed activities serves the best interest of the institutions and its employees. They should be straightforward about their personal limitations and qualifications. And finally, they must build products that meet professional standards through testing and detailing unresolved issues. In support of the mentioned responsibilities of software developers, the management should require ethical approaches in software development. Privacy, confidentiality, and security. Privacy and confidentiality are often used interchangeably, but they are not synonymous. Privacy generally applies to individuals and their aversion to eavesdropping. Example of privacy is when someone is spying on a certain person to find out about his or her visit to an acquired immunodeficiency syndrome or AIDS clinic is a violation of that person's privacy. A confidentiality is more closely related to the unintended disclosure of information. For example, is if someone breaks into the clinic to view an individual's patient record. The kind of trust essentially establishes a successful physician-patient or nurse-patient relationship and enables the practitioners to perform their jobs better. Poor privacy and security practices heighten the vulnerability of patient information and increases the risk of successful cyber attack. Physicians should hold healthcare information in confidence, should be applicable no matter what the circumstance. The obligation to protect privacy and to keep health information confidential fall on system designers, maintenance personnel, administrators, and ultimately the physicians, nurses, and other frontliner users of the information. The protection of confidentiality is non-negotiable because a duty that does not fluctuate. Levels of security information system. It is important to note that the types of safeguards may be prescribed or restricted by law. Important consideration is the most benefit principle, but if it is not cost-effective for an institution to avail of an expensive technology to mitigate a risk to electronic health information, alternative is to require the staff to follow a new administrative procedure that reduces that risk.
Administrative, physical, and technical safeguards for HIS. Administrative safeguards. Continuous assessment of the effectiveness of safeguards for electronic health information. Administrative safeguard is to manage the selection, development, implementation, and maintenance of security measures to protect electronically protected health information and to manage the conduct of the covered entities' workforce concerning the protection of that information. Physical safeguards. Locking offices and areas that contain computing equipment that stores electronic health information. Physical safeguards refer to the physical measures, policies, and procedures in place to protect a covered entity's electronic information systems, as well as related structures and equipment, against natural and environmental exposures, as well as illegal access. Technical safeguards. Using certified applications and technologies that store or exchange electronic health information. The technical safeguards are the technology that protects and controls access to electrical protected health information. Essentially, the rules and procedures that limits its storage. The difference between Physical safeguards and technical safeguards are physical safeguards keep an eye out for real access to physical site where entry happens, such as premises, computers, or workstations, while technical safeguards are concerned with appropriate and proper access to patient records as well as data transfer, passwords, and login credentials are also involved in it. The National Research Council 1997 emphasized that technological security tools are essential components of modern distributed healthcare information system and that they serve 5 key functions. And the first key function is availability, ensuring that accurate and up-to-date information is available when needed at appropriate places. The availability is the ability to make information and related physical and logical resources accessible as needed when plus where they are wanted. The second key function is accountability, helping to ensure that healthcare providers are responsible for their access to. That means that every individual who works with an information system should have specific responsibility for information assurance. And the third key function is perimeter identification, knowing and controlling the boundaries of trusted access to the information system, both physical and logical. Perimeter means outer boundary, and it is often the property line and the first line of defense against unauthorized access. And the fourth key function, controlling access, enabling access for healthcare providers only to information essential to the performance of their jobs and limiting the real or perceived temptation to access information beyond a legitimate need. Controlling access is a crucial aspect of data security that determines who has access to that uses corporate data or data and resources. Access control rules indicate that they are and have proper access to corporate data through authentication and authorization. And the fifth key function is comprehensibility and control, ensuring those record owners, data stewards, and patients understand and have effective control over appropriate aspects of information privacy and access. Comprehensibility and control means that they are aware of relevant areas of information privacy and access recording.
Levels of security in the laboratory information system. In 2017, McPherson and Pincus narrates the following flow of information in a specific portion of the hospital information system, and that is the laboratory information system. First is register patient. The patient record like ID number, cell phone number, name, age, address, and etc. must be created or encoded in the LIS prior to the test, which is the next level. Order tests. The attending physician will order the tests for the patient and the procedure will be requested. The orders are entered in the CAS and will be sent to the LIS automatically. Next is the collect sample. The LIS then prints a barcode labels for each patient order. It includes the patient number which is indicated in each sample for them to be recognized. These labels are printed in the nursing stations. Receive sample. Once the sample arrives in the laboratory and the barcode is scanned, the LIS automatically change the indicator from collected to received. And sample. By then, the sample will be loaded to the analyzer and then the barcode is scanned again. The analyzer already knows what test to perform from the order provided by the LIS. Review sample. The analyzer then produces the results and send them to the LIS. The results are only available and viewable to the assigned technologies or pathologists. Release results. The pathologist or technologist is responsible for the releasing of results. The results are automatically transmitted to the CIS upon release, which lessens the work of the technologies. Report results. Finally, the physician can now view the results on the CIS screen and can be printed anytime. The Philippine Data Privacy Act of 2012. Given the rapid evolution of the digital economy and heightened international data trading, the Philippines has decided to strengthen its privacy and security protection by passing the Data Privacy Act of 2012, with an aim to protect the fundamental human rights of privacy of communication while ensuring free flow of information to promote innovation and growth. The Act applies to individuals and legal entities that are in the business or processing personal information. It covers personal information of Filipino citizens regardless of the place of residence. The main principles that govern the approach for this act include transparency, legitimacy or purpose, and proportionality. Processing of sensitive and personal information is also forbidden, except in particular circumstances, which is number 1, about an individual's race, ethnic origin, marital status, age, color, and religious, philosophical, or political affiliations, issued by government agencies peculiar to an individual, such as Social Security number, or is marked as classified by an executive order or act of Congress, and also about an individual's health, education, genetic or sexual life of a person, or to any proceeding or any offense committed or allegedly committed. There are also some exceptions like consent of the data subject pursuant to law that does not require consent, necessity to protect life and health of a person, the necessity for medical treatment, and the necessity to protect the lawful rights of the data subject in court proceedings, legal proceedings, or regulations. The Act also provides penalties for varying violations, majority which includes imprisonment. These violations includes unauthorized processing for unauthorized purposes, negligent access, improper disposal, unauthorized access or intentional breach, concealment of breach involving sensitive personal information, unauthorized disclosure, and malicious disclosure. Any combination of series of acts enumerated shall make the person subject to imprisonment ranging from 3 years to 6 years, and a fine not less than 1 million pesos but not more than 5 million pesos. Under the Republic Act number 10173, Chapter 8, Section 33. Philippine Data Privacy Act is the last subtopic for Lesson 14. Just remember that health information ethics is the application of the principles of ethics to the domain of health informatics. The 3 main aspects of health information ethics are general ethics, informatics ethics, and lastly the software ethics. The obligations of the health information ethics in health information management includes the safeguarding of privacy and security of health information, disclosure of health information, development, use, and maintenance of health information system.